Hi, I'm Tiana from the Art Gallery of Ontario. Today we're going to do an activity called soft sculpture. So when you think of sculpture, you should be thinking of something that's three-dimensional. It's got volume, it's got mass to it, and the cool part about doing soft sculpture is it kind of spins the preconceived notion of what sculpture is. It flips it. People think of sculpture being hard, like made out of marble and clay, and this isn't that. It's going to be soft sculpture. So the other cool thing is that it uses materials you can find around your house, like fabric or old recycled things that maybe you wanted to donate. I think we should have a look at some of the materials we're going to use today. So the first thing you need to gather is the fabric that you're going to use for your soft sculpture. So I'm going to show you what I gathered today. I had a couple of felt sheets at home. I had some nice yellow fabric left over from a project. I have some nice pattern fabric. I also have some pantyhose, which is a great material for this project because it'll really stretch and it'll take the shape of the stuffing. I also had some foam sheets, which I'm going to say are soft. So why not use them for your soft sculpture today? The other thing you can do is look in your cupboards and your closets and find old clothing. Here's a pair of pants that have a hole in it, which means I can't really donate them. And this is amazing fabric to make a sculpture out of. The next material you want to gather is something that's going to help you seal the seams of the fabric. So you could gather glue, it could be tape, it could be a stapler, or even a needle and thread, really whatever you have at home. Just remember, always make it age appropriate, of course. A hot glue gun is one of my favorite things to use, but if you're a younger person, make sure you're doing this activity with an adult. Same thing with the needle and thread. Another thing to note is if you use white glue, it'll take a long time to dry, so you might want to seal your seams with white glue and let it dry overnight before you stuff it the next day. The last material that you need to gather is whatever you're going to use to stuff your soft sculpture with. So just remember, you're not going to see this material. It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it gets the job done. So I've gathered some pieces of Kleenex. You could also use paper towel. I've also gathered a grocery bag that I had, and I just took it and ripped it into pieces. You can crumple that and stuff your sculpture with that. I also have some leftover fabric. So if you remember, I pulled this material to make the outside of my sculpture, but you can also take that and stuff the inside of your sculpture too. Now, totally optional for decorating your soft sculpture at the end, you can gather some paint if you have it at home, or anything else like markers or colored paper, whatever you have. Now that you've gathered all your materials, you have to decide, what do you want your soft sculpture to be? So really, your imagination is the limit. You can make anything that you want. What about building an entire city that's a soft sculpture? The buildings, the cars, the people. What about the animals? Maybe you could make a soft sculpture that's abstract. It's more about form and shape, color and pattern. One of my favorite things to do, frankly, because I'm a little bit hungry, is to make a soft sculpture that's food, something that you would want to eat. Maybe your favorite food even. There's a cool artist I'm thinking of, Klaus Oldenburg, who did a series of food soft sculptures in the 60s. We're really lucky we have one of those pieces in the Agio collection. It's called the Floor Burger. It's a massive soft sculpture of a big juicy burger. It's a very cool piece, and I hope you have a chance to see it. So I'm going to think about what kind of food I want to make for my sculpture. I'm going to think about kind of dinner first. I'm thinking maybe a piece of pizza. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my pizza soft sculpture. So first I'm going to look at the fabric that I have, and I think I'm going to go with this yellow fabric because it kind of reminds me of cheese. So I'm going to take this, and the easiest way to make a soft sculpture is think of the shape of what you want to make. So I think of a slice of pizza being a triangle. I know that I'm going to need a top and a bottom to my pizza because I'm going to seal those seams. I'm going to glue them, or I'm going to sew them shut, and I'm going to stuff it to make it puffy and soft. So I'm going to take my fabric, I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to draw a triangle on here to represent my piece of pizza. Now, the other thing to remember is when you draw your shape, make it a little bigger than you want it to be in the end, because when you seal the edges so that you can stuff it, you're going to eat up a little bit of your shape. So if you make a tiny little triangle and then you seal your seams, you're gonna have a little teeny tiny piece of pizza, which maybe you want a mini piece of pizza, I don't know. But for me, I want a big piece because I'm hungry. So let's get your scissors and let's cut this out. Okay, now I've got my two triangles for my slice of pizza, and now we have to seal them and make them glued together everywhere except for one area, because we need it to be open so that we can stuff the sculpture. So I'm going to grab my two favorite methods, which is using a needle and a thread. So if you want to use that, you can just take your needle, you can get some thread on there, and then I would do something called a whip stitch, where essentially you're just going to poke up with the needle into the fabric, and then you're just going to keep coming around, whipping it around, and making a stitch around your slice of pizza. Really, for video, the faster way to do it is to use a hot glue gun. So again, just remember, if you're a younger person, make sure to have an adult with you because it gets very, very hot. And I'm gonna glue all the seams except for, I think, the top. I'm gonna leave the top open. Okay, so now just remember, if you are using that hot glue, it's very hot. So even as I'm patting the seams, I'm being really careful not to burn my fingers. So you're gonna wanna leave that for a minute or two, just so it cools off a bit, and then you're going to stuff it. So let's have a look at the stuffing material I have. It's the same material I had before, that kind of ripped up grocery bag, some extra fabric, some tissue. I'm gonna use the Kleenex, and I'm just going to stuff it in. So sometimes it's helpful to use something like a pen or a pair of scissors, and you can just poke that material all the way in. Great, so now I have my pizza. It's stuffed, it looks like it's ready to go, but I need to seal that top seam, so I'm gonna go back to my glue gun and do that. Amazing. So there is my soft sculpture pizza. It doesn't look quite finished yet though, right? I think I need a crust and I need some toppings. So before I do that, I'm gonna show you how to put together one other soft sculpture, and then we can finish both the pieces at the same time. So once my pizza is done, I'm gonna be hungry for dessert, and I'm kind of feeling like some chocolate cake. So this is, I'd say, a very simple version of a soft sculpture, the body of a soft sculpture. I'm gonna show you one now that's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to show you how to draw it. If I wanted to make a slice of chocolate cake, I would draw it kind of three-dimensionally. Let's get that angle there. Okay, so let's turn that around so you can see. That's what my chocolate cake is going to look like. I might even have a little bit of icing in there, and I might even have some decoration on top. We'll see how fancy I get. So I have to figure out how many pieces of fabric I need to make this. It's not quite as simple as the pizza we made before. So I'm gonna need, just from looking at this diagram, one piece that's a square or a rectangle. I'm gonna need 2 pieces to make the top or the bottom that are triangles, and I'm gonna make 2 pieces for the sides that are rectangles. So sometimes I find when you draw it out, it makes it much simpler to understand. So I've already cut out those pieces. I'm going to show them to you. So here are my 2 triangles for the top and the bottom of my cake. Here is my piece for the back of my cake, and here are the pieces for the sides of my cake. So again, I'm gonna glue these together really quick and then stuff it, and then I'm gonna show you how to finish these off and make them a final soft sculpture. So now I'm going to show you how to stuff this piece. It's very similar to the last one. So you can see I've done all of the seams for a 3-dimensional piece of chocolate cake, but I've left a bit open at the top and at the bottom here, and I'm going to stuff it from both sides. Okay, now that's stuffed, I'm going to seal the seams. Okay, now I have my 2 different pieces of soft sculpture, food soft sculpture. I've got my pizza, which is ready to finish, and I've got my big slice of chocolate cake. And can you see, my pizza is much smaller, My chocolate cake is huge because frankly, this is what I want to be eating right now. So I'm going to show you how to finish it. We've got different materials that we can use. So I've showed you some already. We've got the felt, which I think I'm going to use maybe for the crust of the pizza and maybe for the icing on the chocolate cake. But we also have some paint too. So let me show you how to do that. Now that I have my paint, we're really ready to decorate. So I think I will start with the pizza. So I know I mentioned before I want to put some crust on there. So I've cut a piece of crust out of the felt. I'm gonna take a second and just glue it on. The other thing that you can use is that really fun foam sheet material. And the nice thing about it is that it comes with a pre-sticky backing, which is just super convenient for this. So there's my crust. And then I've already cut out some shapes from that sticky foam. So I'm gonna do a vegetarian pizza. I'm gonna do some green pepper. I'm gonna peel off that sticky back and just stick it on there. I'm also gonna do some tomato. Now you might wanna make this a pepperoni if you're hungry and you're feeling like pepperoni. Whatever you like, this is your pizza. And then I'm also gonna put a black olive on there. I know, controversial choice, but I'm feeling the black olives right now. So I'm gonna call that pizza soft sculpture done. I think it's really nicely decorated. It's not over fussy. I had fun with it. And it looks like a nice piece of pizza. So let's move on to the chocolate cake. For this one, I'm going to use some paint, which is a little bit more like what Claes Oldenburg did. And really, he actually made a piece of chocolate cake soft sculpture. So this is very much inspired by him. I've got some paint here. I've got some brown and then some white and brown that I'm gonna mix together. So maybe I'll do that first. I'm figuring that the brown is gonna be for the cake, and then this lighter part might be for the icing on top. So I'm gonna do a quick, paint job. Have a look. Now for those of you at home, you might want to put down a big piece of newspaper or maybe craft paper on your table, but I've been doing this for a while, so I'm going to be a little risky. I'm just doing it over the cutting board here. Now that I finished painting my piece of chocolate cake, my soft sculpture, we're gonna decorate it just like we did with the pizza. So I've made these little felt roses. They're supposed to be like little icing roses that I'm gonna glue onto the top. I've also cut out the strip of felt, which I can glue along the side, like a bit of icing in the middle. Just remember, have fun. And the biggest thing about this project is not to get too fussy about it. Use any fabric you can find at home, as long as you're allowed to use it. The preference is always recycled material, of course, or something you're about to throw out. Remember when you're sealing your seams that you can use glue, tape, staples, like really anything that you have on hand. And then again, when you're decorating, use paint if you have it, but if you don't, you can just cut out stuff, even paper, color it in and just slap it on. So have fun, have a good time with your soft sculpture, and make sure to share your finished projects with us at the hashtag AGO from home and AGO makes. Please enjoy, share with us everything that you've made, and I hope you join us again soon. Bye-bye.